Hey everybody, this is Kennedy Hawk from the Marvel Champions Monthly Fan Podcast team. We're back with another Modular Monday, and today we're going to be talking all about Frost Giants, which is a modular set in Mad Titan Shadow. So if you haven't played against this mod yet, or you don't want to be spoiled about some of their cards, now is your chance to tune out. Let's get right into it and talk about Frost Giants. So Frost Giants is a minion medium modular, and what I mean by that is it's not jam-packed with minions like a lot of the mods in Galaxy's Most Wanted were, but it's not one of those mods like the ones from Green Goblin where there's one minion, a bunch of treacheries, attachments, and side schemes. There's a couple minions, 3 minions, 2 attachments, and 1 side scheme. So note, that means we don't have any treachery cards in this modular set, and I love that. I'm getting, frankly, quite sick of treachery cards that just do horrible things that force you into treachery cancel. I'd much rather have different problems for the heroes to tackle, and this is a set that does that excellently. It's one of my favorite modules from Mad Titan Shadow, and we'll get into why here in a little bit. It has an average boost icon of 2, so of the 6 cards that are in this set, the average number is 2 boost icons. There's a couple below and a couple above, and we'll see how that goes. So, first, let's look at those minions. We have one copy of, I'm going to butcher this, Laufey, who is a 2 scheme 4 attack. That is huge minion with 6 health. He has the elite and giant trait and toughness. So he is like the leader of the Frost Giants of the Jotunheim, right? So he is a unique Frost Giant that we get here. He has the force response. After he attacks and damages a character, stun that character. So you're going to be blocking with a lot of minions. But with the BV4 attack, there's very few villains with printed attack as high as 4, right? This is Rhino's final stage of attack printed onto a minion that any player can draw. That is brutal. On top of that, he's got a built-in ability to stun you, which you're going to notice is like sort of one of the mini themes of this set. They've jammed so much into this set that I love it. On top of that, just let's count his boost icons for a minute. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 boost icons on a card, and we had that happen in Infinity Gauntlet, but those cards couldn't get mixed into the deck. So this is 4 printed boost icons. That's going to make things like Preemptive Strike feel really, really good, although there's only 1 of this 4 boost icon card in this set, so it's going to be a little bit random. Toughness is important to remember. We're going to want to bring Ping or Piercing to get rid of that toughness, but ultimately, we're building this theme of Frost Giants that freeze you and stun you, and that they're really tough and like meaty and difficult to get through. We've got 2 copies of Frost Giant, a non-unique minion with 1 scheme and 3 attacks. So neither of these minions have 0 scheme, and they have a minimum of 3 attack, which is a really, really brutal for a minion. You're going to have to deal with these right away. Again, toughness, this time with the boost ability. If the villain is attacking, and this attack deals damage to a character, stun that character. So basically the same ability that's on Laufey for his attacks now gets added to the villain. So there are 3 cards right here that have toughness, stun, and high attack. That's like the theme of these Frost Giants. They are going to be difficult to remove from the board. It's going to take extra actions or extra resources to remove that toughness and then deal your damage. And they also all have ways to stun you and punish you if you don't remove them. And they have really high attacks, so they're going to be absorbing allies that you block with, or you're going to be taking some big hits to the face. Only 1 boost icon. This is the lowest boost icon card in the kit, but if you take 2 of the extra boost icons from Laufey and add them to each Frost Giant, they both end up at 2. Alright, let's look at the other stuff. We've got 2 copies of Frozen, which is an attachment. Attached to your identity. Attached identity cannot ready. Alter Ego action. Spend energy, physical resources. Discard this card. So the cold never bothered me. Yes, Loki, this is a great Frozen reference, and I'm quite glad that someone who is a parent designed this card, is my assumption. It's pretty brutal attachment. Frankly, I'm a little bored of the attachments that just prevent you from readying. I feel like there's a ton of them. It is a big tempo hit for the heroes, so I totally understand why it's on a ton of cards. But I'd like to see some attachments that do something a little bit different. That being said, this attachment is very thematic to being frozen in place, right? You can't ready your identity at all in Alter Ego or in hero form. You can't use card abilities. You can't do nothing to do it. To get rid of this, you're going to have to jump to Alter Ego, and we'll talk about that, but that might be something that you want to bring some cards to counter, because there's 2 of these in the kit, and if you have to jump to Alter Ego to ready or like take a tempo hit, it can really set you back. Finally, we've got a really interesting side scheme. It's a 1 of Unnatural Storm. The deadly cold of Jotunheim immobilizes even the hardiest of heroes, or hardest of heroes, depending on if you're a villain or not. Heroes and allies cannot be readied by player card effects. When revealed, exhaust each ally in play. 2 threat per player. So this is pretty standard. 2 threat per player is nothing to be scared of, right? In 2 player, you can still get rid of this with 1/4 justice. Most people can use their hero activation unless they're real sad to get rid of this. So it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't exhaust your identity, and it doesn't stop cards from being readied in their 1 free ready per turn when you draw up to your hand size and stuff like that. So it's not nearly as painful. It's definitely a tempo hit for like a leadership player that has 6 allies in play and was planning to strengthen numbers. But it's not the end of the world. You can really live past it and almost leave this side scheme out to fuel things like Skilled Investigator and Jessica Jones and stuff like that. That being said, if you're a hero that like depends on readying, like Cap or Quicksilver, any of those heroes, Cap or not Cap, well yes Cap, but Iron Man once he has his arc reactor out, you're probably going to want to get rid of this. It doesn't take that much to get rid of, so it's not nearly as much of a hit in my opinion as Frozen. It does affect the whole table, but the whole table can work on the solution, so it doesn't feel nearly as bad as what I had expected. The hardest cards in the kit are definitely Laufey and Frozen, and those Frost Giants that we've seen before in Thor's Nemesis set can also be quite a pain. Alright, so let's recap. We had 3 minions with toughness, and they all had 3 to 4 attack. That's pretty brutal. Remember to bring ping or piercing to remove that tough status card. Right, you need to deal 1 damage to the tough and then deal damage to the minion to get rid of it. And a lot of players like to play where as soon as a minion comes out, we just get rid of it and we don't have to maintain it or do anything like that. But these are going to be a little bit harder to remove from the board. So you're going to have to bring some extra resources to do that. Don't forget that if you leave these on the board, they all have ways to stun you. So if you leave Laufey on the board, he's going to stun you. I guess the Frost Giants stun you on boost, but there's going to be some stun and slowdown going out, which can be really annoying. This actually synergizes really well with the second set of cards, which are 3 cards with anti-readying tech, right? One of the easiest ways to clear stun is just waste your hero activation and then play whatever event you want. You might want to consider doing the opposite, because if you can't ready from ready effects, or if you can't ready at all due to Frozen, it might be better to use a cheap event to clear stunned, and then still be able to use your hero's activation, depending on what the balance of those costs are. I would say plan ways to pay the price for Frozen, and possibly ignore the side scheme, unless you're one of those characters that really depends on readying, or you have one of those on your team. So I'm looking at Quicksilver, I'm looking at Captain America, I'm probably looking at Doctor Strange and Iron Man as my main culprits there. Maybe She-Hulk too. She likes to ready a lot. So there's the recap. What are some things we can do to counter these? Well, I already mentioned piercing and ping damage, right? Ping damage is like little 1-point damage that doesn't get wasted. So 2 of your main targets here in leadership are Black Knight and Squirrel Girl. Black Knight's going to be able to remove that tough and deal 3 damage. Unfortunately, that Frost Giant has 4 health, so even removing the 3 damage and 2 damage. Wow, I didn't even read Black Knight's card. So yeah, he does 2 damage and removes tough. So you're going to have to do 2 damage and remove tough, and then hit him for 2 in one other way. With Laufey, you'll have to hit him in 4 in one other way, but it's still an efficient way to get rid of that tough card. Another character you can run is Squirrel Girl. Let's say we are multiplayer and you get 3 of these giants out. Squirrel Girl can ping tough off of all 3 of them at the same time, and then start attacking them, which can be really helpful. There's a card in Nebula's kit, Energy Spear. I talk about this card all the time because it's like my favorite aggression card ever. Attached to a Guardian ally, max 1 per ally. Attached ally gets +2 attack, and its attacks gain piercing. That means any 2-attack Guardian ally can now one-shot Frost Giants. If you can get a Guardian ally somehow up to 4 attack and then play Energy Spear, you're going to be one-shotting Laufey, which is pretty amazing. I really like Get Over Here against this set. There's enough minions in there, and a lot of the scenarios are minion-heavy now that you end up seeing a lot of minions. So with Get Over Here, you can deal 1 damage, remove the toughness, pull the minion to you, and then make way with it if that helps. Really helpful in Thor because the minion can get pulled to you. You can draw cards, use those cards to take care of the minion. Pretty nice. There's obviously a lot of hero cards that have piercing. You can look at Red Room Training, Vibranium Arrow, Cutthroat Ambition for Nebula, Element Gun for Star-Lord. There's a ton of cards that have piercing, but a lot of them are hero-based. There's a couple of the non-hero ones, like Marvel from the Mad Titan Shadow. He's an Aggression 2-cost ally, or Piercing Strike. Piercing Strike does 3 and removes a tough. It's still a little bit of an inefficient card, but if you're going to have a lot of these toughness allies there, especially if the villain also has some toughness gimmicks, it might be worth taking some of those piercing aggression events. Okay, and then attachment counter. I'm not going to worry about the side scheme. You just throw it away. That's the basic answer. There's not much else you can do. But this attachment, we need to talk about a little bit. It can be really, really annoying. This is an alter ego action to remove, and I mentioned this before, so you're going to have to flip to alter ego mode to remove this. So there's a cost to removing this attachment beyond just the energy and physical resource, and that cost is that the villain's going to place threat on the scheme by scheming. Unless you have a way to flip to alter ego form and back to hero form in one turn, you need to plan for that. So bring some cheap threat, make sure you have a way to get the threat low that's not just depending on your hero's ability, because you're only going to be able to use that ability once and then you can't ready, or bring some sort of confuse or something like that. Just plan on knowing you're going to have to go to alter ego form. There's two of these. You're bound to draw one eventually, especially if you play with this set a lot. So just remember, alter ego form has an additional cost beyond just the resource cost to discard this card. And that's all I had for Frost Giants. So I really like this set. I think it's a good balance of minions and other cards. I think the other cards all have like a succinct theme, and so do the minions, and they even interplay a little bit with the stunning and exhausting and stuff like that. I really like sets that aren't just jammed with horrible treachery cards and extra activations, and this one does not disappoint for me. So let me know what you think about Frost Giants, and maybe what your favorite modular set from Mad Titan Shadow is in the comments on this video. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great Modular Monday.